And let me do this. Let me pull up the New York Post story we got, and we'll get into this one. New York Post, quote, "I'm done with COVID. Bari Weiss on Bill Maher sparks controversy." Not to us.
Right.
Because, like, I'm done with COVID. I think I said that like 4 or 5 months ago. And then I got COVID and I got made fun of for it. No, but it's the insanity of the restrictions. So on Friday, on Bill Maher's show, Bari Weiss, she said, I'm done with COVID. She said, I sprayed the Pringles cans. I bought at every grocery store. I stripped my clothes off because I thought COVID would be on my clothes. I watched Tiger King. I got to the end of Spotify. We all did it. I love that. We all did it. Yo, I'm sure a lot of these liberals did. So this is interesting. This is a mainstream corporate press show, Bill Maher. Bill Maher's always been kind of, he's always been in line with the left in the culture war, but he challenges that every so often, but he's late to the party. He gets things wrong. So here I am. I see this going viral. First and most important thing, good news. Regular liberals who watch Bill Maher are now cheering for this. When Bari Weiss has said that what's happening to our kids will be seen as a moral crime, I'm done with this. Everyone's clapping and cheering. Bill Maher opened the show by saying he called the vaccine a virtue signal. That was crazy to me. He said your first dose, it's like, I can't remember the exact joke, but he was like, it comes in 3 doses, your first series, your booster, and your virtue signal. And then everyone, they laugh or whatever. And so I'm like, this is really, really good. And I want to make sure that's clear to everybody because I'm going to criticize a bit of everybody. It's good that we're watching regular people wake up to this stuff. It's good that we're seeing people realize you've got to do something about this. We can't just sit back and let the country fall apart. The stores are going, it's been 2 years, right? But we've had this conversation a year ago. We had this conversation a year and a half ago. And my concern is just this. To all of the independent media types, the podcasters, the Twitter posters, the journalists who have listened to this show, have listened to Steven Crowder, who have listened to Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore and Crowder talked about these things before we even did. So let's realize, for one, we were all right. What's the joke? Conspiracy theories, 597, mainstream media, 0. We're winning this one. We talked about it first. We were right. We need to have more confidence in ourselves. We need to basically say to the likes of Bill Maher, but amongst ourselves is, we need to set our own news cycle. We shouldn't sit back and be like, well, did Bill Maher talk about it? That's when it matters. No. We need to start acting like the conversations we've already had. Again, like Jimmy Dore, Crowder, Sticks, Hex, and Hammer, all these other independent channels I've already had a long time ago. And when you go out to a restaurant, when you go out to, I'll tell you this. There was that big breaking story where the CDC lady, I think it was, said there's a difference between dying from COVID and dying with COVID.
Right.
CNN picks it up and goes crazy. Yo, we talked about that a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So when you're out at the bar and someone's saying, yeah, but did you hear how many people, died today? You can go, yeah, I mean, but you're not conflating with and for. I mean, that was they've already explained that. Don't you watch? Don't you pay attention? Just stop acting like CNN is who should be setting the news cycle. Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as you said, some of these things have been around. I mean, there was that early period in COVID where nobody really knew what was going on, and then once we got to like summer 2020, things started to become clearer. I think a lot of people lost faith in our institutions and our public health officials. I'll say when it happened for me, when those 1,200 public health experts signed the letter that said protests for racial justice are A-OK during COVID at a moment when people still couldn't even go to work. And then at the end of the letter, it says, this is not to be confused for support of protests that are against lockdown measures.
I remember that.
I said, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think a lot of people were done at that point too.
If you're a sheep, you're sitting there being like shout out to Ethan Klein, H3 podcast, when he said, you don't even got to think, you don't got to think about it. I think that's what he said, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you don't even got to think about it.
Yeah, I never saw him say it. I've heard you mention it a few times.
Yeah, it's like, I guess on his podcast, he mentioned you can go to the CDC website. You don't even got to think about it. They just tell you. And it's like, maybe you do. But hey, look. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a sheep. I want to make sure that's clear. I'm not insulting people for being sheep. There are a lot of people, good friends of mine, and I've had really interesting philosophical discussions where I've had people say, would I rather be the one who's in charge of organizing all of these people? Or would I rather sit back, crack a beer, and watch the game and say, I'm going to enjoy life and enjoy my ignorance? I'm like, yo, I get that.
Yeah.
I can respect wanting to revel in ignorance. How I can understand that. Personally, I should say this. When I say respect it, I mean, I get that feeling. I understand, personally, I think people need to, if they're cognizant of what's going on, speak up and stand up. There are a lot of people who don't view it that way and maybe don't have the ability to see what's really going on and maybe just think to themselves, look, I wake up, I go to work, I try to feed my kids, I come home, I turn the TV on, they tell me what's up, and that's all I care about.
Yeah. I mean, there are instances, for instance, right? I'm a Christian. So in the scriptures, it talks about, Jesus is the good shepherd. But part of what pastors are supposed to do is shepherd their flocks, right? So in that context, I get, a shepherd who feeds his sheep. But in that context, the shepherd is working under the authority of the good shepherd, and they're feeding, from a source that provides all the nutrients that any of the sheep would need, right? That's different than what we have. We have awful shepherds. We have shepherds in wolf's clothing, which is worse than a sheep in wolf's clothing. Because if you get a sheep in wolf's clothing, the wolf may get 1 or 2 sheep before the rest scatter. But a shepherd in wolf's clothing will take all of them over the hill, and none of them will know the difference.
Wait, I think you're mixing it up.
Wolf in shepherd's clothing.
Yeah, wolf and shepherd. You said
shepherd in wolf's clothing.
Sorry. I'm like,
that'd be pretty cool,
the
though.
sheep pretending to be the wolf.
Yeah.
I think we actually have sheep's and shepherd's clothing. I think we've gone so long without a real shepherd, and this could be even religious as well. Like we've separated ourselves from any real leadership that finally one sheep looked around and was like, yo, the shepherd gets to eat whenever he wants.
Correct.
He gets to go wherever he wants.
Correct.
I'm gonna put on the shepherd's. I'm gonna carry around his. What is it? What is that stick?
Staff.
Yeah.
And just tell him what to do. And so you've got sheep leading sheep.
Yeah.
The blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
And that's we were just talking about it. The white knights. Is that the, I guess, the simps?
White knights.
The simps, the guys who are just like
Simple.
Betas,
That's kind of what it
yeah.
means. They're
Is that what it
simpleton,
means?
Yeah.
That's not what simp means.
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
it means you're simple. I think that's the idea.
No, I think you're making that up.
I don't know.
I don't know what else it would mean,
Simp
though.
means something. I don't know.
It does.
Yeah.
But it just, basically it's a guy who's like white knighting for some chick. This is what we have in terms of our leadership. It's not just about the woman. It's about the constituency. It's about the politician being like, I'm just going to say whatever you want to hear.
Right.
Because hopefully that'll make you happy.
I think
You know what
that
I mean?
you were talking about people wanting to drink beer and check out and watch the game, and I get it, but I think that we've been groomed for this. I think that the whole bread and circus thing, it's an ancient Roman tactic. You want to keep the plebes happy. You just make sure they have enough bread and they have enough entertainment. Same with beer. Now you go turn on TV and watch a football game or something, beer commercials, car commercials, get drunk, buy a car. So it's not healthy to check out. Especially when people that check out and then think they have some political clout by putting a sign in their yard and yelling at their neighbor about if you're going to check out,
Yeah.
go away.
Yeah.
What I guess to clarify what I was saying before about some people just don't mind being sheep and there's something wrong with it is when you have a good shepherd.
Right.
Then your flock is protected and they're
Correct.
doing what they got to do.
This country, though, it was definitely founded on don't ever give up your rights. Don't ever check out.
Correct.
You are this process.
Right, but I'm not saying to give up your rights. I'm saying, there are people who I love using the example of like a carpenter. It's like a regular trade job or an electrician. Let's say you're an electrician. Man, you will run circles around me and explaining how all this stuff works.
Right.
I'm going to sit here and be like, I had no idea.
Right.
So,
And I'll trust your expertise.
right. But at the same time, that electrician is going to say to me, I don't have time to read the news all day. And this is really important stuff. I can wire a house. I can save your house from burning down. I can fix a car. I can do a lot of stuff. I can actually, I've had electricians talk about, wiring up crazy devices and supercharging remote control cars and doing really awesome stuff because they know how to do it. So they need to rely on someone who's at the forefront of the conflicts in the world, the culture battles,
Right.
journalists and politicians who are going to say, you got my back in terms of building the infrastructure, and I'll make sure you're well informed and prepared for what comes next.
Right.
I can't expect them to be where we are. That's what I mean when I say, everybody's a leader in some respect.
Yeah.
But when it comes to our actual political, military, and media establishment, that leadership is in the gutter.
Yeah.
It is a cesspool.
Thoroughly discredited. And I mean, I remember at one point I sent one of my boys a tweet from the CDC because his wife was pregnant at the time, and it said something to the effect of, are you considering getting vaccinated? And these vaccines are now available for birthing people.
What?
And I said, why would you trust a public health establishment that doesn't even know who the category of person that can get pregnant, right? The exclusive category of person that can get pregnant. And as I said, all of these institutions have discredited themselves over the past, 2 years. They'll blame it on alt-right. They'll blame it on Trump. But it's no, you guys have done it. And now you're feeling the backlash.
People are waking up to it. Waffle Sensei chimed in a super chat with the quote from Ethan Klein. He said, the CDC is like this whole government body with scientists and ish that tell us what to do. You don't have to think about it, dude.
Yes.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's dangerous, man. Because it's remarkable to me that you can look at history with like asbestos. Come on, it's like not even hard to come up with an DDT is good for me. Remember that? There's a really awesome ad that was going viral. It was a pregnant woman smoking cigarettes.
Yes. Low birth rate. Wait.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, easy delivery.
Doctors recommend, whatever cigarettes for expecting mothers.
Yeah.
It's like I can't. I think Bill Maher even mentioned this too. Maybe it was Bill Maher. Maybe it wasn't. He was saying that they used to, drill mercury into your teeth. They don't do that anymore. Wow. Well, I mean, we would get the fillings, right? Wasn't that not even that long ago? Mm-hmm. What did they did lead fillings? Did they do that? I don't think
know,
they did.
Yeah.
But they used to do. They used to do a bunch of stuff, and all the time we decide, hey, that was maybe a bad idea. We improved the science. Yeah. So to sit there and be like, to quote Biden. The Tuskegee Airmen experiment. No, but the Tuskegee experiments.
Yeah.
The government, MK Ultra, that was real.
It wasn't an accident either. That one was
right. I know. We know you don't just sit back and say the government is my friend, and it'll I think the government is inherently utilitarian. It cares about protecting itself.
Correct.
And it cares about maximizing output.
It constantly shocks me how quick people are to trust that the government has their best interest in mind. Because if you know anything about the government, you're going to know a little bit about like MK Ultra and some of these other weird projects and creepy, suspicious things the government's done. Mm-hmm. I think that people tend to lump that into the whole Alex Jones paranoia basket. Yeah. But these are very real things that have definitely provably happened. Like the Tuskegee experiment's very real.
For sure.
It's part of the reason there's so much vaccination hesitancy among that community. And it's like, I completely understand why. They remember what happened. Like
that was funny to me because when the New York vaccine mandates were all happening, there were Black Lives Matter activists protesting it. And one of the things I heard them say was they were like, we remember what the government did to us. Yes. You're not going to just tell us we have to do this ish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember, it's funny because the last time I came, I was talking about, again, another article. And I think the title of it was, will Kendi and Biden save no-vax blacks from Jab Crow attacks?
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that.
and Kendi actually answered that question. Someone asked him about the vaccine mandates. And of course, I knew he did what I knew he would do, which was punt. He would say, "Oh well, they're really not racist, even though they have a disproportionate impact because blacks and Hispanic and Latinx can't get the vaccine. They don't have access. One, that's a lie. Two, that would make it even more racist if you're holding black and Hispanic people accountable for getting a medical treatment that you admit they don't have access to." But again, I knew that that's where he was going to go because he's making way too much money from, guilty white liberals to ever criticize them and call them, the forbidden R word. But yeah, it's for me, one of the big things, the word that keeps coming back to my mind as it relates to COVID stuff is authority. This virus has made the populace give up authority in areas of their private life, their medical lives, that we've never considered before, and the government has been more than willing to take it on. So now all of the my body, my choice people are now like, no, you must get the vax. You must. And if you don't, you're a bad person. The people who would never stigmatize anybody for having AIDS or HIV, regardless of what type of personal behavior they're engaged in, are now saying, no, if you get COVID and you're unvaccinated, you should die and you shouldn't get medical treatment. So it's basically flipped all of people's principles right on their head.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.